Bhagavatam ki, Krishna Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Premanande. Oh, glorious temple. Oh, glorious temple. Oh, glorious Shiva. Namaste Bhaktivedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswati. Never say Shri. Like to talk to you, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 September the 8th was Janmashtami, the appearance day of Lord Sri Krishna. 1 year before, Bhaktivedanta Swami had observed Krishna's birthday at sea aboard the Jaladuta, just out of Colombo. Now, exactly 1 year later, he had a small crew of Hare Krishna chanters. He would gather them all together, have them observe a day of chanting, reading scriptures, fasting, and feasting. And the next day would be initiation. At 6 o'clock, Swamiji came down and was about to give his morning class as usual, when one of the boys asked if he would read from his own manuscript. Swamiji appeared shy, yet he did not hide his pleasure of having been asked to read his own Bhagavad Gita commentary. Usually he would read a verse from Dr. Radhakrishna's Oxford edition of the Gita. Although the commentary presented impersonalist philosophy, the translation Swamiji said were 99% accurate. But this morning he sent Roy up to fetch his manuscript, and for 1 hour he read from its typewritten pages. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I'd like to read on. It's very exciting. This going back in history a few years to 1966, when Prabhupada was in New York, and the whole world, other than a few young men and women in associated with him, and there's very few. No one in the world knew, cared, any idea what was happening. There was an old elderly Indian Swami talking to a few young hippie-like boys and girls about something completely alien to Western, say, life, chanting, strange languages, strange diet, strange lifestyle, completely, say, totally not unrelated, but totally distanced from everything else that's going on around him. At a time when the war in Vietnam was picking up, becoming more and more fierce. At a time when the Beatles had just visited India for the first time, almost on the same day that Prabhupada incorporated ISKCON. Many things, heat wave, many people have been dying of heat wave in America. I mean, world events which were very significant, World Cup, so many things were going on. Oblivious to everyone else, Srila Prabhupada was masterminding or initiating the great mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread the holy name in every town and village of the world. No one could have conceived it, not even aware of what the speaker conceive of it happening. They weren't even aware of such a thing even existing. Nowhere. Didn't get anywhere in terms of the world's events of the time, but now we see the significance of those times when Srila Prabhupada was in New York incorporating a society. For what reason? There was just a few young hippies coming, and Prabhupada said, we're now going to form a society. So what do we need a society for? Someone said, well, so that we can, donations would be tax-free. Well, the said, well, there aren't any donations. What do we have to worry about? There's no money. But Prabhupada had this great vision of seeing a movement spread all over the world, every town, every village. When he was, or even earlier than that, when he was on one park bench in New York, one American gentleman came up. He worked with the metro subway, I think. And he was asking, he said, he was curious. He saw this unusual personality sat on a park bench and came up and asked him, are you from India? And Prabhupada said, yes. And Prabhupada asked the man, are you from India? He said, no, I'm from America. The man said, what was he doing here? And Prabhupada said, he told him what he was doing. He said, and you've got something here, you've got some whatever, temples or something? He said, yes, we have many, many temples. We have schools, we have restaurants, we have farms, we have many followers, many books, everything. Of course, at that time, he was completely alone with just a handful of Srimad Bhagavatam first cantos printed in India, which he brought with him. And but Prabhupada said, yes, all these things are here. There's just little time separation. We can't see them. Time is, fascinating. You could say aspect of this universe, of the material world, how everything is going on in the cycle of Kala Chakra, the wheel of time. And we measure everything accordingly, but in one sense, a devotee is Trikalagya. He can see the future also and lives in the present. So even the future is, in one sense, is the present, in one sense. So he was seeing like that this mission, not because of me, Prabhupada said. Sometimes we say despite me, but Prabhupada, because it's Lord Chaitanya's will, it's my spiritual master's will. It will happen. This on the spiritual platform, not on some, let's say,
any kind of policy or United Nations or religious, doctrine or anything, but on the real platform of spirit, that unity could be there. Prabhupada's first point, practically speaking, in his constitution document for ISKCON was to teach the techniques of spiritual life to people in general, so they could understand the subject matter and thus bring about unity and peace in the world. And peace and unity are not to be found by some legislation or by some meetings, persons who don't really have an understanding what peace is really. Prabhupada gave that peace formula, Bhuktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Sudam Sarvabhutanam Gatvamam Shantim Vichati. We want peace, then one has to connect with Krishna in the correct way, with a proper understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, the friend of everyone, the proprietor of everything. In this way, one can become free of the pangs of material existence and attain peaceful condition. Peaceful condition means no longer affected by the modes of nature in this world. They may be there, but not affected by them. Okay, so we're going to read now from Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know what. Let's see here, maybe. Which verse is it? 44. Sakam vihaya savipro Mahapurusha kinkarai Haimang vimanam arya Yo yantra shiyakpatihi Sakam vihaya savipro Mahapurusha kinkarai Haimang vimanam arya Yo yatra chiyapati Sakam vihaya savipro Mahapurusha kinkarai Haimang vimanam arya Yo yatra chiyapati. Yayo yatra shayakpatihi. Yatra shayakpatihi. Ladies. Haimang vimanam arya Yayo yatra shayakpatihi. Sakam, along, vihaya sa, by the path, Oh, you have it on the screen, do you? By the path in the sky or the airways. Vipraha, the Brahmana Ajamyo. Mahapurusha Kinkara Ihi. With the order carriers of Lord Vishnu. Haimam, made of gold. Vimanam, an airplane. Aruya, boarding. Yayo, went. Yatra, where. Shriyaha, Patihi, Lord Vishnu, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Accompanied by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, Ajamyo boarded an airplane made of gold. Passing through the airways, he went directly to the abode of Lord Vishnu, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Purport. For many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they are still unable to go there. However, the spiritual airplanes from the spiritual planets can take one back home, back to Godhead, in a second. The speed of such a spiritual plane can only be imagined. Spirit is finer than the mind, and everyone has experience of how swiftly the mind travels from one place to another. Therefore, one can imagine the swiftness of the spiritual form by comparing it to the speed of the mind. Less than even a moment, perfect devotee can return home back to Godhead immediately after giving up his material body. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, very instructive pastime of the deliverance of Ajamil, who, as just a slight recap, of course, he was born a Brahmin, but by bad association, he fell victim to, let's say, the behavior of ordinary persons addicted to sense gratification, especially sexual attraction. And he himself fell into that lifestyle. And the rest of his life, he was a young man when he became, let's say, degraded, if you want to call it that, into gross sense enjoyment of all kinds. And he was indulging in all kinds of sinful activities, in a sense, in reality. Compared to today's modern society, maybe not quite as specific in terms of detail, but engage in eating untouchable food and having sexual connections whenever possible, even stealing or performing sinful acts, criminal acts, in order to maintain his level of sense gratification. He was considered a very fallen condition because he was blessed. A little bit of blessing, of course, was there because in his early life he did have pious exposure, born in a Brahmin family, but he fell away from his Brahminical upbringing very badly, became very sinful. And as you know, at the time of death, he was definitely due to be punished for his sinful crimes and his behavior and so on, all kinds of various lying and cheating and whatever. Even violence towards other living entities was involved. So in this way, he was to be punished, but because he chanted, not because he was thinking of Krishna, but he was thinking of his son, who happened to be named Narayan, and he chanted the name of his son. And Narayan added fear and desperation, and death was approaching, the Yamadutas were approaching, and very fearful situation, but he called upon Narayan. So the Lord took it, he's calling upon him, and son sent his representatives, the Vishnu Dutas, quickly to the spot to prevent the Yamadutas taking him away. So, which of course is another pastime, which is described already in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he wasn't immediately delivered back to Godhead, but he was freed from going down probably into hell. He was freed by the Vishnu Dutas, and the whole pastime and what actually are religious principles. The Yamadutas were bewildered. They'd never been stopped in the course of their service before, at least this batch. So they inquired from Yamaraj, and Yamaraj explained the higher principle that he's not God, that Vishnu or Krishna is God. And anyone who chants his name is not subject to hellish punishment. So somehow or another, Ajamil was fortunate, although he was sinful most of his life, but he didn't go back to God. Then he had the opportunity to purify himself. He went to Hardwar when he was released from death and performed Bhakti Yoga in Hardwar on the banks of the Ganga. There's a story in the Puranas, I can't remember which Purana, but there's a story of, which is you could say a very fortunate story, because once upon a time there was a king or a very rich man or something like that, and he had a very almost incurable skin problem, constantly itching like anything. So he didn't know what to do. It was really making life hell. So one advisor, maybe some Ayurveda, I don't know, but somebody who was giving him advice, and he said, you should cure this by eating the remnants of the most sinful person you can find. There weren't many sinful people in his kingdom. But he searched for the most sinful person maybe in that kingdom, and people were indicating it must be Ajamil. He must be the most sinful person in the country. So he came to Ajamil's house, and Kanya Kubja, they're living in a place called Kanya Kubja, which is now is the area of Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh. He was living around there. So he came to his house, but Ajamil was not there, out probably doing some criminal act. He came to his house, and his wife was there. So this man with the skin problems, king, whatever he was asking her, please, 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 will you help me? I need to take the remnants of your husband. I hear he's the most sinful person in this area. And of course, she was whatever, many times the wife is very pious. We see that in this country also. Gujarati family is better than most, but still, oftentimes the husbands deviate from their principles, but the wife doesn't. She maintains good standards of religiosity and so on. So whatever, he was begging her, please give me some. But she was pious, and she said, how can I give you the remnants of my husband? He's so sinful. You are a pious man. I said, I can't do this. Untouchable food. Remnants of my husband's meals? No way. But he kept begging. And he said, all right, I will give you a special blessing if you give me these remnants of your husband's food. He said, whatever he may be, but when you have your next son, you name him Narayan, and he will deliver you and your husband. So there's some unheard benediction given there from a saintly person, a saintly king or whatever, to help Ajamil. We need help. Otherwise, we're helpless, just like people in America had no idea, no clue as to what the purpose of life is, simply sense gratification. So Jamil was in that position himself. And they make their laws and they make their adjustments in society to facilitate their sense gratification. They don't care about the laws of God. It's not significant. They don't believe, although they say out of sentiment sometimes, yes, there's this punishment or there's karma or something, but they don't follow it. They're ignorant. So Ajamil also became completely covered over by ignorance. But by this blessing, his next son, he was already very elderly. They named Narayan, special mercy, and because of that, he got this. It's an example, we could say, illustrating the power of the holy name. Even chanted without devotion. He didn't chant in devotion, he chanted out of desperation, but he wasn't chanting in a sense with direct offense towards the holy name, material attachments, so he had to stay. But when he chanted the name Narayan, it also brought to mind his childhood when he used to chant various names of Godhead and other mantras and so on. So there was already something there. And by the blessing of, in one sense, his son, he was protected from the Yamadutas. And now we see, after practicing for some time, devotional service, becoming more and more purified. That was one of the conditions, that he not indulge again in sinful activities. Similarly, when a devotee accepts initiation, in a sense, he kind of got initiated by the Vishnu Dutas, because they delivered him from his sinful reactions, directed him what to do, and to avoid various nefarious or sinful activities. And he took it seriously and became perfect in his conscience, so eligible. The Vishnu Dutas came back again, as we see in today's verse, in the golden aeroplane of Mount Vimana, and took him back to Vaikuntha within a moment. So this is a good fortune. We can't take it for granted that we're eligible, but it's a good fortune of which we have. It's so fortunate we have mostly names of the Lord or his pure devotees. We're mentioning these names regularly. We're chanting Hare Krishna. And we should be very grateful for this and take it upon ourselves to distribute these names of the Lord everywhere. Spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so everyone can get the chance to go back to Godhead. And it can happen. It's not this. It may seem impossible. It may seem far away from our, say, present condition in one sense, still attached to this world and so on. But Krishna can do anything. We have faith in the holy name of the Lord. As Ajamil developed his strong faith, his chanting evolved, of course, from Namabas. It was called Namabas, or reflection of the holy name, because he didn't know what he was doing in terms of spirituality. He was just desperately calling for help. My son Narayan, he was so attached. The tendency is that we think of that which we're attached to at the time of death. So he was most attached to his son, so he was calling his name. Whether external or internally, he was calling him. But even that was purifying. So when people have names, it's like even here, Evangeline is the name of God, we heard the other day. So it's some benefit is there. Yeah? All over the world now, people are chanting the name of Krishna, the name of Ram. They may not be aware of what they're doing in one sense, because the name Rama particularly appears in so many places, isn't it? I don't know in Scotland, but in Europe, it's everywhere. There's even a supermarket called Rama Supermarkets. And what to speak of, at the end of words, you see Rama comes in so many places. Huh? Alto Rama, Sinorama, Laundorama, Sinorama, Sexorama. In Australia, they have Sexorama. So many places it comes in languages. So many languages have the names of Krishna as part of their popular vocabulary. And Rama, the hotel, so many places we see the word Rama coming in. Panorama. It's a special, you can say, mercy of the Lord, Kali Yuga, appearing in this form of Nama Rupa. Kali Kalera Nama Rupa Krishna avatar. In Kali Yuga, he appears as a name. So people are chanting this in Namabas, you could say, unless there is some kind of like relief there. They don't know about it. They don't even know anything about the benefits. But there's some kind of Namabas there, which is delivering and giving them a chance. But that's not the end of it. Just to be released is not, we have to become purified. Just to be released from jail doesn't mean that we're no longer a criminal. Mostly we're still criminal. So to purify oneself of that criminal mentality or that tendency to sin or that tendency to try to enjoy sense gratification requires practice under the guidance of the pure devotee of the Lord, sadhana, to change our consciousness or the way we see the world, etc. And that's what Ajamil did. He applied sadhana, very careful practice in his life to chanting and hearing, and with the right conception, not for sense gratification. And then one, by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, one becomes purified and eligible to go back to Godhead. And as you see here, in one moment, it's possible for, but if one's, in this case, it's the actual time, but even in devotional surrender, Prabhupada said it can happen in a moment if one surrenders. Matter of surrender. Even in material dealings, when a person surrenders, fully, then he's released or given protection or not killed or whatever situation it's in. So similarly, when we surrender, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So Ajamil was now fully surrendered. He gave up. We have many examples of similar things. In the pastime of Lord Nityananda, there's a wonderful pastime of one of Lord Nityananda's tasks given by Mahaprabhu was to preach to the dacoits, to the sinful people. There's always a class of sinful persons in this world. So Nityananda particularly was inclined to preach to the most fallen. And one time Lord Nityananda was in Navadvip and he was dancing in the kirtan with devotees, an ecstatic kirtan going on. Nityananda Prabhu Avadut, you can't tell what sometimes he dances naked, sometimes he dances with his copans on his head, wrapped around his head. Sometimes he would dance covered in jewelry and opulent clothing. No one can predict what he'll do next. He's completely, we can't measure him. Lord Nityananda can't control him. He's Avadut. So this time he was dancing covered in valuable jewels. Where they came from, nobody knew. But covered in valuable jewels and cloth. And it so happened there was a band of dacoits nearby, and they, my God, look at that Avadut over there, whatever he is, look at that fella. Boy, he's got so much jewels on him. We would, more than we can imagine. We'll be able to do everything we want if we could get those jewels off of him. So the leader of the band, he went sort of in disguise and he joined the kirtan party and was dancing around there in the kirtan, just watching and looking at everything. And wow, yeah, he came after the kirtan. He followed the Lord Nityananda, went then to the house of Hiranya Pandit on the outside of the city of Navadvip. And he staying in his little cottage, isolated cottage. So Nityananda was to stay there. So this bandit, this dacoit, leader of the dacoit, he was actually born a Brahmin again, fallen like Ajamil. And he was thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be an easy pick. He's just staying out here with one simple Brahmana. we can come here tonight and just get all of those jewels. Surely there'll be nobody else around. So he went, told his band of dacoits what was going on here. They all got very excited. You know, it's very exciting. We can go on the pick this evening, and tonight we're gonna have a good collection, and we can enjoy ourselves. You know, so they all got ready for the night, and they started to proceed at night towards the house of Aranya Pandit. When they got there, they were hiding in the bushes. They saw there were so many people in the house; it was packed. They said, "Oh no, maybe having some kind of party." But don't worry, they'll either fall asleep or leave soon for sure. So they waited and waited. Still, it was going on in there, some festival, and somehow or another, they were waiting. But then they all fell asleep. Yoga, Mahamaya, or whatever, put them into deep sleep. And they slept soundly until sunrise. And when I woke up, "Oh, what happened? You should have, it's your fault. You should have stayed awake. No, it's your fault. You should have woke us up." They're all arguing with each other. "Oh no, we missed our chance." It was all quiet in the house of Rania, but it's morning time had come, so it's not the time, it's light, the sun's up. And they're all kind of like blaming each other. "Anyway, whatever," the leader said. "We missed our chance, but don't worry, we'll come back tomorrow. There probably won't even be anybody else there tomorrow. Tonight, a special day." So they went back to their homes. They came back again, gathered and came back again the next night to pilfer Lord Nityananda. And they came back. And this time they were hiding in the bushes. They thought, "My God, what is that?" There were these huge men, armed guards, pounding up and down outside of the house. Hari, 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 chanting, Hari, 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 boom, boom, boom. Huge men, 7, 8 foot tall. Never seen such big men. They had big spears. I thought, "Oh goodness, what's happening here? What's happening? This is weird." And then the leader said, "I know. It must be some king who is visiting the Avadut. These are his gods. Don't worry, boys. We'll come back again. Give it a few days. We'll come back again. Give it a couple of breaks in case he's around again." So they thought, "Wow, what's happening now? Maybe we're being frustrated. We're not worshipping Chandi properly." Chandi is an expansion of Durga Devi. And then they performed their Chandi Puja, Bhadrakali, Bhadraka. They were offering meat, wine, and everything to the Kali, Durga, Chandi. They thought, if we worship her properly, surely we will succeed. Tonight we will be successful. So they headed off again a few days later. And as they went, it happened to be a dark moon night. Last night, I think, was yesterday, Purnima, but it was the other end of the calendar, dark moon. And not only that, as they went, it was difficult to see where they were going. Suddenly, by the arrangement of the Absolute, a huge storm began to brew. And after a while, the wind was blowing. The rain was crashing down everywhere. They were getting lost in the dark, couldn't see where they were going. And then they were getting pounded. It wasn't just rain. Hailstones like tennis balls were coming down, smashing them. The wind was howling. The temperature crashed as they couldn't see. They were just lost in the dark. And then they were going here and there. They lost each other. One fell into a pit of snakes. Another one fell into the thorn bushes. Another one into a drain and was bitten by leeches and God knows what. They were being completely devastated, crying and screaming, "Save me, help me." They were really in bad shape. And eventually this was going on, and the leader of the dacoits kind of had again, because he was born as a Brahmin, and he had obviously some samskaras, some good impression somewhere hidden away there behind all the dirt. Suddenly he came to the conclusion, this is not happening by chance. This Avaduta must be the Supreme. He's not an ordinary person. He started to become very desperate. Oh, Avaduta, I'm such a sinner. He was, of course, he wasn't there in the house at that time. He was begging for mercy. Save me, save me. I'm such a sinner. He was crying and crying and crying, and he surrendered in his heart, gave up all of his sinful intentions and surrendered. And of course, the storm suddenly abated, and he, in a beaten condition, and he approached the house of Hiranya Pandit, fell at the feet of Nityananda, begged for his shelter, and so did his followers, and they were all delivered by the mercy of Nityananda. It's by the mercy of Nityananda that one can be delivered from whatever condition we're in, whatever our anarthas may be. And Lord Nityananda is the most merciful Thai. And how do we become? And by how do we get the mercy of Krishna? We have to get the mercy of Radha, and to get the mercy of Radha, we have to get the mercy of her associates. And to get the mercy of her associates, we have to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to get the mercy of Nityananda's long line. To get the mercy of Nityananda, we have to get the mercy of the devotees, the spiritual master and the devotees. And to get Nityananda's mercy, we have to preach this message of Krishna consciousness. He says he gives his mercy to those who preach to the Jagais and the Madhais, to the sinful persons. Then he would give his mercy. It is in itself mercy, but Lord Nityananda gives that. He's the gateway to the spiritual world in accuracy. We're not talking necessarily of Vaikuntha, different age, but in this age, Nityananda is the gateway to love of God. We have to approach by the mercy of Nityananda, pray for his mercy, and try to take up this mission, which he did himself, preaching to the Jagais and the Madhais, the Ajamios, this one, that one, so that everyone becomes eligible to board. That we're looking for a golden chariot in this world, broken pieces of glass. Everybody wants that, but there isn't. It's just a will-o'-the-wisp, just like a mirage. You think you've got it, and then it's gone. Time takes it away. But if we really want to, let's say, ascend or reach that golden chariot, then we have to give up the idea, as we sang last night. Ishaya chariya kabe shudaha biman kabe hama he rabo Shri Vrindavana. We want to go to Vrindavan. We have to give up this idea of trying to enjoy this world. This world belongs to Krishna, should be engaged in his service, devotional service, the most valuable, thing that can be possibly obtained in this life. More valuable than the whole universe. So many stories are there of devotees who've, taking up devotional service, rejected a world of opulence, a world of sense gratification. So we're very fortunate. We've got Prabhupada Prabhupada, the representative of Nityananda, giving us this opportunity to practice devotional service and to spread devotional service to the Jagais and Madhais, and whatever Krishna allows. But we hope you'll be able to again start going out more, distributing the holy name, distributing books, prasadam, and so on to the conditioned souls here in Scotland and wherever you go. It's the way to please Nityananda Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, well, finish there. Any questions? Ashish, thank you. I managed to stay awake somehow or another.
Keeps us very awake, Maharaj.
Pardon?
Your class and Kirtan keeps us very nicely awake.
Oh, I don't know if everyone else stayed awake. I just made it. Maybe you woke up now. One time Prabhupada said Srimad Bhagavatam class is the best cure for insomnia. And even during Prabhupada's presence, many devotees you could see in pictures, oftentimes you see them nicely resting during the class, head tucked down. Yes, Ashish Prabhu, how can we serve you?
Maharaj, this pastime of Ajamil, it is a pastime of in which kalpa and which yuga as such?
I think it's Treta, but I can't remember. It's not Kali, previous age. I don't know if anyone can remember reading it. As far as I can remember, it is mentioned somewhere in the purport. If my memory serves me right, it was Treta Yuga, but I may be wrong. Anyone remember? I don't know. That's all I can remember. I may be wrong, as I say. As far as I know, it's not this age of Kali. The holy name is the means of deliverance. It may be Kali Yuga, maybe. But it's the means of deliverance in every age. Although other processes of deliverance are emphasized in different ages according to the situation. But if one chants the holy name in any age, is the most effective means of self-realization. But people may not be so inclined. And if they do chant the holy name, you can read the verses are there in different ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, that different names of the Lord are, let's say, people are more inclined towards chanting different names of the Lord, not so much the name of Krishna directly, but names glorifying the power of God or his opulences, etc., but not his sweet, intimate form of Krishna so much, but rather reverential names of Godhead. And chanting these reverential names is no doubt good, but it will not, let's say, it's like Lord Narayan. The word Narayan is a reverential name or descriptive name of the Lord, but it's not conjugal. It's not a intimate name. It's more a reverential name. So Vaikuntha was the destiny of Ajamil, not Goloka Vrindavan. But Lord Chaitanya has come to distribute. Normally in the Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma is the chanting of the holy name, but it's reverential names of Lord Narayan primarily, which are chanted in other Kali Yugas. When Lord also comes in other yugas as in a form of Narayan, Gaura Narayan, in other yugas. But the names are reverential names. But in this particular Kali Yuga, the Lord has appeared as Mahaprabhu to give this Mahamantra to freely to everyone. That one can become eligible to enter into Goloka Vrindavan by the pure chanting of the holy name. Maybe it was, I don't know, maybe you can look it up. I'm sure it's there. We have Google. We can call Google Guru. You can ask Google Guru what the answer to that is. He'll probably tell you. In which age did Ajamil? So we can look it up now if you want. Which age did Ajamil appear? Which age was his pastime? Yeah, sorry, it wasn't that. You look it up. If you've got access to Google Guru, look him up.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Pardon?
Can I ask one more question, please?
You can ask 100 more questions.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I may not give one answer, but you can ask.
Maharaj, so Nityanand Prabhu is very pleased when sinful persons like Jagai and Madai are preached. And sometimes we understand, okay, not spending much time, say, with sinful people because covered in so much ignorance, say, it's rather better perhaps to channelize our energies in preaching to a pious person so that he can come into devotional service perhaps more quickly.
Pious person. Yeah, I'm sure there are many of them walking on the street of Glasgow. How many pious people are there? What does pious person mean? What is a pious person? What piety is? Of course, there's relatively more or less persons who are fortunate, a little bit open to spiritual life, yes, for sure. But that doesn't mean that we exclude everyone else. The Sankirtan movement blesses, or by the mercy of Nityananda, he blesses everyone by performing Harinam Sankirtan. You do your book distribution, maybe you approach persons who maybe pious or not pious, but something is there, some good fortune that they're able to hear something and maybe able to follow up on it. But everyone in this age of Kali is a sinner. Everyone. Where is there anyone? We all come from different backgrounds to some degree, more or less. Everyone is a sinner. Everyone's engaged in sinful activities. How do you find a truly pious person? Is one who's following strictly the Varnashram Dharma system, but you won't find hardly anywhere. But pretty much everyone's a sinner. They may be, a little more pious than some others, but they're still engaged in sinful activity. So, we go especially when we're preaching, because the idea is, the hope is that they would take up Krishna consciousness and also do the same thing, spread Krishna consciousness to others. But practically everyone's a Jagai and Madai in some ways, living in a corrupt lifestyle, corrupt world, and supporting it. Common sense. But the Harinam is for everyone. And oftentimes it's sinful people, drunkards, crazies often join. They get special mercy from the Harinam. Special mercy. Even Lord Nityananda wasn't necessarily preaching so much philosophy, he was just engaging them all in kirtan. Everywhere. Try to engage everyone, just somehow to get them to chant the holy name with Lord Nityananda. And that's the mood of Prabhupada with the Harinam Sankirtan. Somehow or another get them to chant the holy name, or hear the holy name, somehow or another expose them to the holy name, so they gradually become purified. It's not that we're just going to hide from everybody and just preach to a few. This movement is for everyone. Just that we heard the story maybe yesterday of that drunkard in Hamilton, not this Hamilton, the New Zealand Hamilton, how he came challenging the devotee, Karuna, I think his name, challenging him. I had a book table and he's challenging him. You don't know, what are you doing? What's this then? You know about Jesus? You know about Jesus? Quite often that leads to a kind of unpleasant exchange. You can't get out of it very easily. But this man was a bit like that. But there was another lady at the book table, and she was very interested, and she was kind of countering what he said, not directly, but indirectly, saying, well, these books are so good, but I've got all the books on your table. You have to print some new books. I've got everything you've got. I want some more books to read, she was going on. And he's ranting on the other side of the table. And so it's like he counted it. But eventually, after several days of coming, the man became totally changed heart. This drunkard changed heart. First he was challenging, and eventually he was actually going away with japa beads. Drunkard, change of heart. By the mercy of Lord Nityananda, devotees representing Nityananda. So that change of heart can take place with anyone, but it just takes time. So obviously you're going to catch the fish, so to speak, there on the surface. Those are a little bit closer to the surface. You can't necessarily reach down to the bottom, but at least you can send the vibration down there. You may not be able to do much more than that. This fellow wouldn't even take prasadam at all until the last moment. Then he asked if he could have some of the muffin. And generally speaking, people are very covered over. You're correct. We generally preach to those who are less covered, or their coverings are more favorable. But we don't say you can't, listen to this. You're too fallen. When the Harinam is going on, everyone gets the benefit, even the drunkards. They really get the benefit. I'm sure you've seen that many times on Harinam. Right? So many drunkards come and join that. Well, one time in Birmingham, they were doing Harinam in Birmingham. One drunkard came in the middle of the Harinam and started causing a bit of a, it went a bit overboard, how drunkards can be. Bit of a disturbance. So the devotees kind of pulled him aside a little bit and asked him if he wanted to dance, please. No, don't do like that, whatever it was. Anyway, somehow he came back in dancing and it was a bit better. At the end of the kirtan, he was like, hey, whatever, like, in their own way, they're expressing their kind of appreciation, I guess. And then suddenly he got a wallet out of his pocket. He had a wallet in his pocket. And he gave every devotee a 20-pound note. About 15 devotees. Sometimes these drunks are not always... They sometimes say where he got it from, God only knows. But he and sometimes amazing things happen like this. Krishna has a plan for them. And we're all drunk. Everyone's drunk in this world. If it's not from liquor, it's from television or something else. We're all drunk. Attachments. Intoxicated. We have to become intoxicated in the holy name. Intoxicated. Association of devotees. Dancing, chanting, feasting, serving. Cooperating together to try to put the will of the Lord in the center. Slowly putting our own will, not giving up, but offering that to the Lord instead of having it as, let's say, competitive will. To become one with God means to have no separate desire other than the will of the Lord. An instrument to fulfill the Lord's will. It's our constitution. Doesn't mean we lose our identity. I mean, we find our identity. We've lost our identity in this world. We're an illusion, forgotten who we are. We have to remember who we are. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very, very much for your association. Apologies for any offenses or shortcomings, which are many. Not get into the details. And we wish you all the very Krishna conscious best here in Scotland, and to move on and both cultivate our own bhakti and help others to also encourage others to also progress in their spiritual lives. Plant the seeds and help water the seeds of bhakti, of devotion. Be tolerant. Tolerate some difficulties sometimes come, and be humble, don't be proud. Respect others, don't expect respected yourself, and keep chanting the holy name. Even how fallen we are, somehow there is still hope for us. And now don't give up. Keep going. We were discussing yesterday on the association of devotees. One has to develop tolerance and humility, necessary requirements for the constant chanting of the holy name in purity, and respecting others, whatever happens. Don't try to avoid offending anyone. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Thank you. Hare Krishna.